Hey guys, it's Jet888 here. Today is August 5th. And let's see, I got an emergency alert today and it froze my phone up. So I thought it may be important, but I didn't open a link because I don't trust the phones. I don't trust the government, so I won't open a link. So I came in and looked up my computer to see what could possibly be the emergency. There's something out east, supposedly, because they had evacuation centers set up. I don't see any fires or anything where I would see if I was looking this way. So I looked on my computer, and the first thing that showed was a Reddit. It is Reddit San Diego showed some kind of emergency, but here's someone got it from the 858 area code that's kind of in my area. Same here, reminded of an Amber Alert. Mission Valley is like more towards the downtown area, which is about 10-15 minutes from me. Anyone know what direction the fire? So someone's assuming it's a fire. Redwood Village, where are they? But anyhow, if there was a fire out east, I would see it. Don't see it. Here's someone in Rancho Bernardo, based on new evac area, seems to be due east. That would be due east from me, where we were just looking. Here's my area code is 925. This is 925 is, this is say Walnut Creek. Now that's way up north. I'm down in San Diego. Here's someone says they're in the 469 area code and they got it. 469 area code is located in the state of Texas. So at this point, I'm thinking that they're just trying to get people excited and nervous, and they just want to disperse, I guess, fear. I mean, there's lots of comments, but no real information. Anyhow, it's funny. Oh, it's kind of like a virus spreading, except it's ember. So this is the only thing I see going on today. That's some emergency alert in San Diego, but out in the area that they were talking about. So they want to place this guy August 5th, and he's some kind of violent predator, whatever, sexual harassment guy. I mean, wouldn't that be almost everyone in our government? Hello? Do they live near you? Anybody? Anyone have any public political servants living next to you? Speaking of emergency alerts, here's a December 22nd, 2021 letter from the FDA, 11 pages actually, to Pfizer from Jacqueline A. O'Saganesi. She is the acting chief scientist of Food and Drug Administration. So this woman here is responsible for leading and coordinating the FDA's cross-cutting scientific and public health efforts. So she's responding to a letter that Karen Baker had written to them requesting emergency use authorization. Now, Karen Baker is the Director of Global Regulatory Affairs working for Pfizer, and she apparently asked, now this isn't the first letter, this is probably the third. They have some letters after this. Now, the FDA lady writes on February 4th, 2020, pursuant to all this section and acts, the Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services, HHS, determined that there is a public health emergency that has a significant potential to affect national security or the health and security of United States citizens living abroad, and that involves the virus that causes coronavirus disease. On the basis of such determination, the Secretary of HHS on March 27, 2020, declared that circumstances exist justifying the authorization of emergency use of drugs and biological products during the COVID-19 pandemic. You know what year it is now? It's 2022, the latter half of 2022. So Ms. Baker from Pfizer actually contacted the FDA and stated to them that we have a new drug called Paxlovid, and it's a co-package. I did a little video on this a couple days ago. There's 2 different medications in there, and they have this new drug that they want to give to pediatric patients and adults. And we've seen how the first dosage of their jabs or solution went for this pandemic. This is like Hallmark card company contacting Congress and say, hey guys, can you please create another federal holiday so we can have another reason to make more cards so we can sell them and make more profit off of it. And just to remind you, Pfizer Inc. is an American, there's their logo, is an American multinational pharmaceutical and biotechnology corporation headquartered on 42nd Street in Manhattan, New York City. So they are by two German immigrants, of course, they're German, but they're basically a private corporation, and they're in the business to sell pharmaceuticals and biotech. Now here's a government document, and Congress made into public law, it's 116-283 on January 1st, 2021. They made into law William M. Mac Thornberry National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2021. Of course, we have a star on the page. So it's 1,482 pages long. We're on page 2 here, and it says, an act to authorize appropriations for fiscal year 2021 for military activities of the Department of Defense for military construction and for the defense activities of the Department of Energy to prescribe military personnel strengths and for such fiscal year and for other purposes. So let's scroll down here a little bit. I'll leave you this link too, but so it's the William M. Mac Thornberry National Defense Authorization Act. Now here we're going to go down still on page 2. Department of Defense Authorizations, procurements. Here they're going to show you what they have, the authorization to procure, and appropriations. You know what those are? So procurement is the method of discovering and agreeing to terms and purchasing goods, services, and other works from an external source. But when a government agency buys goods or services through this practice, it's referred to as public procurement. An appropriation is legislative act authorizing the expenditure of a designated amount of public funds, that would be us, for a specific purpose. That's interesting. One of the things that they can procure here is, look at section 152, transfer of responsibilities and functions relating to electromagnetic spectrum operations. So just weird, going back to the Reddit thing, it was weird because extreme wireless alert was what that alert was. And just what was kind of weird to me was the alert was today, August 5th, and August 5th is 5G. That's 7/27 is 5G. So below the electromagnetic stuff, there's Title II, Research, Development, Test, and Evaluation. Modification of requirements relating to certain cooperative research and development agreements. Oh, they have another one, section 224. Governance of 5th generation wireless networking in the Department of Defense. The document just shut down, but I'm going to go look further here. So it's HR 6395. And the reason why I'm showing you this, and there's one specific thing I want to show you because I think it's relevant to this, but now I have to find it because the page froze down and then shut down. Okay, I brought this back up again, but I was looking specifically for where they show that they have appropriations and procurements for pharmaceuticals, and I'm going to still try to find it, but I find it interesting that in a 1,482 page document, they don't have any search options at all. Okay, well anyhow, we're back to Title II here. We're only on page 3. But the title of Research, Development, Test, and Evaluations, so authorizations of appropriations. I wonder if they have procurement, is this part of this too, where they could just take over. Oh, here's another one too in the very, gosh, we're still only on page 3. This isn't what I was even looking for, but look at this one. This is interesting. Section 128, report on strategy to use ALQ 249 next generation jammer to ensure full spectrum electromagnetic superiority. That's weird. Okay, I'm on page 386 here, and this is talking about list of high priority goods and services for analysis, recommendations, and actions. The items described in this subsection are the following: goods and services covered under existing restrictions or a waiver, exception, or domestic non-availability. Domestic non-availability determination has been applied. Printed circuit boards and other electronic components consistent with the requirements of other provisions of this act. And here, pharmaceuticals, number 3, pharmaceuticals, including active pharmaceutical ingredients, medical devices, therapeutics, vaccines, diagnostic medical equipment. And I saw something where there's the appropriations where they're just going to purchase all of them, which would basically be the same thing here. So high priority goods and services. So if you had some emergency use authorization, would you think some kind of medication, whether it's really good for you or not, is considered a high priority good or service? So in this letter to Ms. Baker from Pfizer, the FDA lady Jacqueline, the acting chief scientist of the FDA, on page 2, Jacqueline states, I have concluded pursuant to section 564D1 of the Act that the scope of this authorization is limited as follows. Distribution of the authorized Paxlovid. Now remember, Paxlovid is being made by Pfizer, although it's probably manufactured in India, but authorized and made by Pfizer will be controlled by the United States U.S. government for use consistent with terms and conditions of this EUA, Emergency Use Authorization. Pfizer will supply Paxlovid to authorized distributors who will distribute to, going down to page 3, healthcare facilities or healthcare providers as directed by the U.S. government in collaboration with state and local government authorities as needed. So the U.S. government is coming in and they will be the distributor, the drug distributor, the dealers of these drugs, the U.S. government, taking over a private corporation's supplies. Now this is funny because here's on Pfizer's own webpage here, Heroes of Pfizer Manufacturing and Supply. It says Heroes of Pfizer's Manufacturing and Distribution, Development and Shipment of Paxlovid. Why is this so big? So there's the title, Heroes of Pfizer's Manufacturing and Distribution. In fact, the manufacturing is done in India. They're actually putting it together in India, because this guy in the top right there, he even mentions that it's India. Let me go back to that. Let's see, will India place bulk orders? Let's go back. So here they're talking about the new anti-COVID drugs because people were already getting wind of the serious. But anyhow, this guy, Dr. Ram Vishwakarma, he was talking about how India is actually going to be manufacturing the drugs. Yeah, he is part of the COVID strategy group. And here he's talking about the U.S. government secures millions of doses. This is on NDTV. And the WHO is butting in and says that they want this to get down to $10 per course. So we have 310 million people approximately. Now there's probably a lot less after the shots in United States. So multiply that by 10 per course. And if it's going to go by like how the jab went, you're not going to have just one jab per person. So I don't know, you do the math. But anyhow, Pfizer puts out this Heroes of Pfizer's manufacturing and distribution, development and shipment of Paxlovid. And here even Paxlovid says, Pfizer says Paxlovid has not been approved, but has been authorized for emergency use by FDA under an EUA for the treatment of mild to moderate COVID in adults and pediatric patients, 12 years of age and older, weighing at least 40 grams. That's like 88 pounds. And going back to the letter that she wrote, the FDA, under the conditions of authorization, this is page 5 of 11, on a part C, on page 5, it says, Pfizer and authorized distributors, that's the government, because she just said that the government will be the ones distributing it, U.S. government, will ensure that the terms of this emergency use authorization are made available to all relevant stakeholders, e.g. U.S. government agencies, state and local government authorities, authorized distributors, healthcare facilities, healthcare providers. Those are the stakeholders. So the terms of the EUA are made available to all relevant stakeholders involved in distributing or receiving Paxlovid. Pfizer will provide to all relevant stakeholders a copy of this letter of authorization and communicate any subsequent amendments that might be made to this letter of authorization and its authors. And there's been some letters accompanying this afterwards. It hasn't changed this part though. So here it says Pfizer may request changes to this authorization, including to the authorized fact sheets for Paxlovid. So it's also in the agreement that Pfizer will report to FDA serious adverse events and all medication errors associated with the use of Paxlovid. So they definitely want to know who's being injured. It doesn't say that they're going to release this to the VAERS. This is FAERS. This is different than VAERS. So basically then the FDA will have control of all the information of any adverse events. This is kind of interesting on page 9 of 11, 911, conditions related to printed matter, advertising, and promotion. Of course it's V. I just think this is funny. Listen to this. Down at W here, which is so funny, this says no descriptive printed matter, advertising, or promotional materials relating to the use of Paxlovid under this authorization may represent or suggest that Paxlovid is safe or effective when used for the treatment of COVID-19. It's so funny. They couldn't even put the word safe or effective on the same line, because I'm sure that the last safe and effective drug that Pfizer was doling out ended up not being safe and effective at all. I think that's funny. So now they're making sure they're covering their bases here, so you can't say it. You can't say it's safe and effective. But back to the heroes of Pfizer's manufacturing and distribution. Remember on page 2, under the scope of authorization, how the distribution of authorized Paxlovid will be controlled by the United States U.S. government. They say we knew it was coming down the pipeline. Remember, pipeline project, the anagram is inject people, RIP. Anyhow, they tell this story about how this team goes to, distribute and work overtime, talking talking about her working overtime to get this product out and facing the challenge. They make a very dramatic story and going the extra mile. When a shipment of Paxlovid arrived at Pfizer's Memphis Logistics Center, MLC, in Tennessee, it was late on Saturday, and Angel Perez, that's him, was getting ready to head home. We volunteered to stay and take care of it, to store it, stage it, and make sure it was ready to ship out whenever it was needed. Says Angel, a group leader of distribution at MLC. I guess, what's MLC? Is that part of the government? Having lost his wife to cancer, so they got you on the emotional heartstrings here. Angel is deeply aware of the role and he and his colleagues have in the lives of others. Whether it's Paxlovid, cancer treatments, or medicines, or other diseases, Angel and his colleagues are always ready to go above and beyond. We know what it means to rely on medicines coming on time because we've been there. We understand that if we don't get these shipments out, it can mean life or death. That makes us go the extra mile. So he's group leader, distribution center operations. And they talk about the new way of working. Racing against the clock required Pfizer to change its day-to-day operations. Maybe instead it was because the government was coming in and taking their product and deciding that they were going to be the distributors. I don't know. Something's fishy here, but look at how they're all lined up. They've got time to line up and do their little exercises when it's such a race for the cure. But they banked on the integrated manufacturing excellence, IMEX, systems and processes that we have built into Pfizer's global supply organization. That would be the government, I think. Supply and distribution, right? On our continuous improvement culture. I'm so proud of the long hours and hard work the teams have put in, and now we are in a position to exceed that goal, to shove these pills down everyone's throats. Anyhow, I guess they didn't know that we saw where the government's going to be distributing your drugs. So they are working overtime to get people to see Pfizer as human. Anyhow, you guys, I gotta wrap it up because my camera's dying. Okay, take care.